Welcome everyone back to another edition of the Broker to Broker podcast. My name is Mark Summers. I'm the president of AIM. Always get extremely excited about doing these podcasts just because, listen, we have great guests, great members of our community, and we got another one today. So today I'll be interviewing the broker owner of Lending Heights, Jason Cecco. Jason, thanks for joining us today.
Hey, Mark. Thanks for having me. I'm pumped.
Good. No, I know, a lot of people you put a Facebook post out there, and I know some people responded, and they responded to me separately saying they're really excited about this one. So let's get started. I love to hear how people got started in this industry. Give me the background of you, your company, how you got started. Give me the whole nine.
Sure. I think ever since I was like 4 years old, I wanted to be a mortgage broker.
Yeah, right.
I know, I'm joking, right? I talk to people about it all the time. There's never a mortgage person that says, I was that kid in kindergarten that, drew a mortgage broker and put it on the wall. All the other kids were doing astronauts, doctors, lawyers. I want to be a mortgage broker. Never happens. It's really funny about everyone I talk to in the industry about it. It's great. But on that note, I think, the mortgage industry kind of found me, to be honest with you. So my background is in engineering. I went to Penn State Engineering, and it was probably about my junior year, maybe senior year. I realized this isn't right for me. I don't want to be doing this. Numbers are numbers. I get it, but it just isn't for me. And actually, one of my college roommates, his father owned a pretty big mortgage company, and I graduated in December of 2010. January 2011, I had my NMLS license, and that's a great when everything changed. They put me on the sales floor, gave me a whole list of streamlines to call, went through it, and never turned back.
Wow.
And then from there, yeah.
That was back in the day. That right around that 2011 mark is when our industry was going through drastic changes.
Oh yeah, I remember being on the sales floor and everyone's like, "Oh man, this thing's for you. You're not going to see yield spread. You don't even know what that means," and all those things. And I was in there just but it's whatever. This is all I know. We're just gonna go through these streamlines and rock and roll and then move forward. But yeah, from there, it was an awesome experience there. I got to learn a lot, and then it's kind of progressed like everyone else naturally does. I tried a couple of other companies, some larger shops, some smaller shops. And then, about 2015, I originally grew up actually outside the Philadelphia area. And I moved out to the Pittsburgh area. And instead of deciding to work for somebody else, I said, let's give it a shot and open up our own brokerage. So it was myself and one other partner, literally in a closet on milk crates and laptops, trying to get everything off the ground and rocking and rolling. And the rest is history. Just kind of keep moving forward from there.
So you said that was about 2015, you said?
Yeah, 2015.
And you've been a broker owner basically now for about 6 years, right?
Yeah, September will be 6 years. That's when our 6 year mark. It flies. It's really crazy. That was before. That was actually probably low predating AIM and all that. It was kind of, there wasn't much guidance there. It was kind of just go for it and see what happens. And what you guys built is outrageous. The support and stuff you guys give it's awesome. And even I think the growth that we've had recently is probably a lot from AIM. Going from a tiny shop to a medium-sized shop, and it's definitely an awesome adventure and exciting the whole way through.
No, I appreciate those kind words, and I always tell everyone, the one thing that we never talk about in this business is how fast, because we're on these rate locks. You're trying to close by the end of the month. If every year flies by. Every time.
It does. You know what it is? When you come into this industry, your standard unit is months. You know what I mean? It's not like, oh, what's going on next hour? What's going on next week? It's okay. How did this month go? How's next month going? What's our 3-month goal? What's our 6-month goal? So when your smallest unit of measurement turns into a month, everything just flies.
Never looked. See, there you go. Never looked at it that way. All right. So now you've had your shop for 6 years-ish. It will be 6 years in September. You've obviously been through probably many changes. So talk to me about some trials and tribulations you went through. How did you come up with your processes and procedures? How many times? That's a dumb question because I bet you they've changed 100,000 times. But go through your process procedure real quick for me.
Yeah, absolutely. The one thing that we do in this office and that we have in our leadership meetings, we call it SIDMER, is the little acronym we made. It's just a stupid acronym we kind of made in-house here, SDMR, which is set expectations and goals. The D is do it. M is measure and analyze, and R is repeat. And that goes to our whole culture. The reason why we made it simple and like that, so that everyone could be on board with it. And we can kind of just say, if there's ever a process, great, try this, do it, go through the process, rinse and repeat. So, our process and procedures, I could drill down as far as you want, as far as, how we bring loans to the company or what. Elaborate a little more. How much detail do you want me to go into about our processes here?
Get into it, man. I want to know how you guys are getting your business. Once you take an app, what happens with it? Go. Because a lot of people have different procedures and processes, and I've always said there's not one right or better than the other, but I love it because I get better ideas, and I know everyone who's listening will get better ideas.
Yeah, 1000%. So we are very strong on the process side here. So what we really focus on is to try to make people experts in smaller portions of the process, right? So like as a single broker owner, you're an expert in everything. You need to know how to originate. You need to know how to be compliant. You need to know how to be a processor. You need to know half the time to be an underwriter so you can fight the underwriters. You have to know how to be a closer. You have to be post-closer, all that type of things. So what we really focus on is trying to get, the sales guys selling, the processors processing, the post-closing, the management looking over all that stuff. So first and foremost, we make it so loan officers sell and only sell in the office. Their job is to take a watertight application, qualify the borrower, and if they do their job right, set the roadmap for the rest of operations. So once they take an application, they do the pre-approval, they do whatever they need to do. They set the loan to the lender. We have a disclosure desk that will go ahead and do all that for them. So the loan officer goes, hey, file's ready to go. I've done my job. Everything's buttoned up. Looks good to go. Send it on to operations and set it and forget it. If they do their job right, they should never have to get back in that file ever again until they're at the closing table and getting a paycheck from it. And the way we do that, so there's a lot of checks and balances we found in place because, some people are stronger application takers than others. So we put a lot of checks and balances. One of them would be like a scorecard. We have a LO scorecard. So what our disclosure desk does is they look at the file and then they grade them. And it's not even grading on quality. It's just grading on completeness. Okay, is the full 1003 filled out? Do you have everything matching in the file that you should as far as the sales contract match? Is the address correct? Is the earnest money on the application correct that's in the file? Is your pricing correct? Do you have the lender that you want to send it to? Basic, checklist things like that. But if they happen to miss something, it's public and it goes out every Friday about, okay, hey, here's Jason. He has -10 on his scorecard. And then there's Mark who has a 100. And just naturally as loan officers, no one wants to have the lowest grade across the company. So we put those kind of checks and balances in place right at the beginning of the process.
That's awesome. I've never heard of that. That's absolutely awesome. Grade yourself, and it's not to belittle anyone. It's just to get better.
Exactly, just to get a little better. And we'll make it fun every once in a while. I think what we do is people get complacent. So if we don't make it fun every once in a while, people don't care about their score. So we'll throw in bonuses or like a gift card, like highest score at the end of this month gets a $100 gift card, or something along those lines, or they get 10 basis points off the next loan they lock, or anything they want for the next one, a free appraisal for a client, whatever it is, something like that. So they're constantly competing for it, and it makes it so that the loan officer's job is only to qualify and fill out the application, and they kind of work together hand in hand. So sometimes when a file fails, it's because the application wasn't taken right. But sometimes because things are just missing, little basic things like, oh, I didn't know the client had a gap of employment. Oh, I didn't know the client, had 2 jobs, or, little things like that. So we really try to do as much as we can up front for the loan officers to just really make it a strong application. And if they do, they can just focus on getting more loans in and not have to worry about submitting loans, collecting STIPs. In theory, we allow them to not put a single document into the file if they feel confident enough doing that. If it's a clean A+ paper W-2 client, they can just run a quick VOE, qualify them, send it, and it's a processor's jobs to collect everything and get it to the rest of the process.
So basically you go loan officer, and I've always agreed with that first application you take. I've always said shit in, shit out. You know what I mean? Really.
100%, 1000%.
And then secondly, you have a disclosure team. So after the disclosure team has it, where does it go then?
Sure. Disclosure team, their job is to just, board it, lock it, send it, and then it gets assigned to our processors. And we have a pretty intricate distribution group. So we were constantly looking at our processors, and, we do a little test here and there, but we kind of see what each individual processor's load can be. So like processor A might be great at, 20 loans, but as soon as they hit 23, we notice their pull through drops, their quality drops, they start missing things like that. So we have a very, very dynamic and live submission, or I guess, assigning process to all the different processors. And that's what it does. It will go into rotation. So here comes Mark's loan. It gets disclosed. Now it goes to the processors. It'll get sent to our processor. Our processor opens it up, scans it. I mean, I would almost call them pre-underwriters or, junior underwriters, because they're very well trained. And what they do is they scrub the file. Anything that the loan officer happened to put in the file, they'll use it. If not, they'll send out the welcome email to the client saying, hey, Jane Smith, my name is Jason. I'm the processor here in the file. I need X, Y, and Z from you. Please send it to me, this, that, and the other thing. And then, I'll get your file, and I'm responsible for getting your file from here to the clear to close. We say, they stack the file, they get everything good, they send it to the lender. As soon as it comes back down, they work on it again, they collect any more steps, this, that, and the other thing. And the loan officer shouldn't have to get involved, unless the client isn't responding, the client's being difficult, something like that. Loan officer might have to hop back in real quick just to save face, things like that. But yeah, it's their job to get everything from title orders to get everything submitted, and getting it cleared to close. The one other thing I forgot to mention is we also have an appraisal desk too, and that appraisal desk, their job is to manage appraisal orders all the time.
Oh wow!
So at the very beginning, when the loan gets set to the setup or the disclosure desk then pings the right people to order the appraisals and pings the processor and all that, and sends out all the tasks and everything that we need. So then that person is just, the appraisal desk is just sitting there ordering appraisals, managing and chasing appraisers all day long, saying, hey, we need this, why isn't there? You know how it is recently with these things. It's tough. It really is. So again, that comes down to our focus. Like I said at the beginning, we're just trying to get people to be experts in smaller portions of the process. And that appraisal person can take 50, 60 orders in a month and manage them, versus you have an LO who is trying to sell and then having to worry about an appraisal. It didn't happen, this, that, and the other thing. No, they just sell. Appraisal people just do appraisal things. Processors just do processor things, and they get the loan clear to close and rock and roll.
Do your processors do the closings too, or do you have a different department for that?
No, they do the closings as well. We're kind of spinning off, and we're getting to the size where we do kind of have a quote unquote closer. It's more just like the operations manager. What we do is a lot of times, once it gets to the closing part, if the processor is busy, we tell them hand it off to the manager all day and they'll worry about the closing part. So that is kind of a position that's evolving at this point. And I think it's the next step. So once it's clear to close, the processors can just go back to working on active files, not having to worry about the back end. But that's going to be evolving to the next step. But yeah, so right now we kind of do, kind of don't. It's kind of hybrid.
Yeah, no, I like it. And then the back end after it closes, compliance, do you have what's that look like? Is it still the processors?
No, we have a post close. So we have someone that works at post close. Their responsibility is to button the whole file up, make sure it looks good. I mean, one of the most burdensome things is like getting our file to match the lender's file. That's such a pain sometimes. It's like every little thing, loan amount, interest rate, closing costs, all the dates, employment, everything of that sort. So like that takes a lot of effort. I didn't realize how much it did. It takes a lot of like just human resources to do that, people resources, just to go back in and clean the file up and everything like that. So we do have a post close. She'll go into the file, she'll go through, clean it all up, add everything, bring down all the docs, package it up, make it look nice, and set it away for if you ever have an audit or a review that can get pulled out. In addition, that person's role is to withdraw loans too. So if someone's in the process, the loan gets withdrawn or loan gets denied, it goes to them first, so then they can analyze and say, okay, this is a withdrawal, or no, this is a approval but not accepted, or this is a denial. Make sure all the stuff's in the file and everything got sent to the client for, there's a 30-day, no action taken notice that was sent out before it's pulled for incompleteness, little things like that. So again, having just like one person is super expert in the little parts, because those are little things you forget all the time. It's like, oh yeah, this one's withdrawn for incompleteness. Well, did you actually send them a warning 30 days prior before pulling the incompleteness and things like that? So we do have a post close. I mean, we're 100% brokers, so we don't have to worry about shipping and funding and selling and all that shenanigans after that. But it's she just does all like the compliance stuff and things like that.
Oh, that's awesome. I love that. I love that process. It makes sense. Seems like it's working pretty darn well for you. So that's awesome.
It is.
Okay. So with all that being said, what does your Techstack look like? I mean, because you got to have quite a few technology, or we'll call it apps talking to each other.
Yeah, absolutely. We keep it pretty basic, all things considered. I mean, I feel like I'm a little guilty of like always wanting to buy the next best thing. You know what I mean? Like sometimes I wish I had the job of selling me tech stuff, because I make a lot of money, man. Because like you see it's great because there's all these awesome companies out there that are good at that stuff. You see this cool thing, like, oh, I just want that little thing. That looks so cool. But then it takes so much more just to get into it, right? So like I've personally made it a point to say I try to keep it as simple as possible because of that fact. But up front, we use LendingPad as our LOS. We use Blink as our POS, and Brand 360 for all like the front end stuff. That's pretty much it. Our LendingPad is like we use that most for our tasking system. That's how we do a lot of our tasking to different departments. It enables us to send tasks to certain people, send reminders and all that types of things. So LendingPad is pretty strong that way. Blink's great just for the application side of things. Beautiful part about it, it's free. Can't beat that. And then Brand 360 is awesome.
As I always say, me and Free get along really well.
Oh yeah, good friends, 1,000%. And then for like a CRM, we use Accelerate. And that was the big one. I have to give them a little bit of a shout out because I've been through a lot of different CRMs, and it's because, there are a lot of good ones out there, but they take so many resources to build out and get it customized to how you want it for your exact, stack. They were like the concierge of CRMs. They really helped me build it out, get it all cleaned up, make sure it integrated. Anytime you need help, they're there. They do most of it for you. It's not cheap, but they do a great job and you get what you pay for. So we use Accelerate, and that talks really well with LendingPad as well. So it comes down to making it all smooth. So when someone changes a date, said from initial submission to approved in LendingPad, now a whole set of triggers and things go out and Accelerate, go out to the client, go to real estate agents, all those different things, so that we can just keep that automation going so people stay in touch, and communication is key through the whole process. Another one that people really don't realize, this one, Office 365. So many people use Outlook or Word. Office 365 has so much automation capabilities and so many built-in tools that I wasn't even aware of until a couple weeks ago. We started implementing. You can really build it out strong. We use Office 365 for our OneDrive, to back everything up, our email. But you can do automations where, if an email comes through with the word appraisal on it or this name on it, these 3 other people get pinged. Or if a file gets pulled in and it has this on there, it gets saved to this file and goes to this OneDrive and all these different things. So Office 365 is super, super, super powerful. And it's pretty easy to use. I don't think many people realize that. So we use that a lot, and we're starting to use that a lot more for automation, and we try to make things, talk a little better to each other. They have schedulers in there, different easy forms and surveys you can send out, all the stuff that I always thought you needed to have this fancy developer for. They make it easy enough for me to use. It's one big button. It's do you want this? Yes. Do you want that? No. Do you want this? Yes. And it works, across the board.
I haven't heard that one. I like it. I mean, it's another resource, and that's what this is all about, is giving as many people as many resources as we can.
Yeah, 1,000%. Obviously, it's super, super helpful, and it's really easy to use. It's great. I bet you most people use it, don't even have it, don't even realize that it's all there to use too, on top of it. I'm trying to think what else we have. Post-close, we use Signpost, for reviews. So we're constantly pinging people for reviews after with Signpost. And then Kahoot for training. That's a fun one. Have you ever experienced a Kahoot?
Yeah, I have done Kahoot. We did a little fundraiser for one time for my kid's school.
Yeah, and that's great. I mean, it's so cheesy, but it works so well. People look at this what are you getting me into? And then you hear them, complaining about it. This looks like, my son's kindergarten education. But then in the background, you hear people talking oh, I beat that person, or I got this little quicker. It works. It really does. And it's great. And it comes down to that friendly competition again, across the board.
So you make your own Kahoot.
That's pretty much it.
You make your own Kahoots, right? So is that how you kind of do some training too?
Yeah, that's 100% how we do some training. Constant Kahoots, constant just little information here and there. There's put yourself in the seat of somebody. When someone blasts you with all this information, you're in a seminar, you're in a class learning about something, you're thinking about the loans you need to get closed. You're thinking about that realtor that you're dealing with. No one actually retains much information during a quick class. But the follow-up is the fortune's in the follow-up. If you set something up where you can, 3 days later, just quiz people on the basics of stuff that you wanted them to know, they'll retain it a lot longer, especially if it's a competition, especially if they have to beat their coworkers at it too. And it really just, helps people retain it and learn all the information.
Nice. So, okay. So speaking of training, how many loan officers do you have right now?
About active loan officers, I think there are 16 active loan officers.
That's awesome. So how was, tell me about your training / onboarding process. What did that look like?
Well, it starts from the very beginning, 1,000%. So when we bring somebody on, even just from the interview process, it has to be the wow factor, right? From the very, very beginning. So I'll take you from the very beginning if someone comes into our company. We got, a loan officer is going to come in for an interview. The first thing we do As soon as they walk into our door, we'll have like a whiteboard or an easel out there that says, welcome Mark to Lending Heights. And we'll make sure that we have, 1 or 2 people there to welcome them. In addition, we'll have a couple team members call that person and say, hey, Mark, my name is Jason. I'm a processor here at Lending Heights. I was talking to my sales manager, Kristen, and she mentioned that you're coming in to interview. That's great. If you have any questions about the processing side of things from, someone that's in the weeds, let me know. Here's my number. We can talk about anything. So then they come in, they go through the interview process. They sit down. We always make sure that they leave with something in hand. If it's a koozie, if it's a pen, if it's a T-shirt or something like that, sit them down, interview them, talk them through, give them a tour of our place here, show them the energy, show them all that. And, if they're a good fit, we'll figure out from there. I mean, the interview process is pretty flawed, right? I mean, that's how I look at it. When does anybody come into an interview and say, I'm going to be an okay employee?
Right.
No one does. It's flawed. And, you're going to try to impress people. They're asking questions. You're going to shoot it out. So we found that trying to break down the barriers as much as possible during the interview process helps. Some of the things that we do during that is, one, we'll take them over to the shuffleboard table and play a quick shuffleboard game. Like, hey, come over here. Let's play a quick shuffleboard game. Kind of just break it down, make it more comfortable. We'll do some role playing. So if we're hiring for an LO position, we'll, even if they have know nothing about mortgages, we'll send them out a little script and say, hey, learn these 5 points, and then you're going to sell this to me when you get in here. We get in here, we turn back to each other, and then start. Hey, you see how they react, just see how they are in this scenario. Put a little heat on them, put a little pressure on them, and see if they, how they respond, if they respond well or not. Because, it's about hiring, character and hiring work ethic and teaching skills, and that's kind of figure out in that whole process. But then it comes down to setting the expectations and making sure that they're training and that you're following up with it. I mean, I'm sure we've all worked at a company before where here's your desk, here's your computer, this is what you're supposed to do, go. And you're just like, okay, I'm going to try to do the best I can. But you start doing it a little bit, and it's not what they want. They say, no, you're doing it wrong, or you don't know what to do. It's overwhelming. It stinks, and it's not enjoyable type of thing. So we do a lot of training. INX, that's a big one that we use. So for a brand new loan officer coming on, we'll put them through INX, get them through all that training. We'll have them shadow somebody. We'll use Success Track. We'll send them up to UWM, or recently it's been virtual. We'll use Success Track. And then we make sure that we have at least 3 days a week of training on top of that, where they're just immersed in all of it over and over and over again. A brand new loan officer coming on with no experience with us, probably doesn't hit the sales floor for 90 to 120 days, just concentrating, constant, learning and all that stuff. And same on the operations side too. I'll come in, we'll do a lot of training. We make every one of our processors, if you're experienced or not, go through the basic INX training. I think it's 40 hours maybe of training they have up front, of just basic, mortgage knowledge, and just as much training as possible over and over, have them shadow, and then we slowly integrate them into our process. And then the fortunes in the follow-up, we'll always sit down with them 3 weeks, 6 weeks, 9 weeks later and say, hey, how are things going? This is where you're doing great. This is where I think you can improve. How do you feel you're doing? Those basic conversations, just to see how everything is, and really feel them out if they're happy here or they're not, and those things.
That's great. I love it. I love it. Now, okay, so I see how you do all your training. You've owned your company for 6 years. Do you still originate?
I don't. I do not originate.
How did you make that transition? Because I know a lot of people start out as 1-2-man shops. They're originating, and we're all control freaks here, pretty much. How did you let go?
I don't know if I ever really did. I think I still think back but no, that is absolutely one of the hardest things to do. It's so hard to do. I remember when I did it, August 2018. That was the month I stopped, because it was such a milestone for me to be like, all right, Jason, just put it down. You'll be good. It'll be okay. Just put it down. Things will work out for the best. So how did I do it? I really just set the expectations. I went through our whole SIDMER process again. I made sure that, one, it was more internally to tell myself. So I made sure that I had people trained around me to understand exactly what the expectations were. And then two, I was just super involved in the whole process, where it was like, okay, if I'm not originating, I'm going to make sure all my originators are originating and going as strong as possible. So, I put my seat out there in the sales floor next to everybody. I was constantly looking over people's shoulder just to make sure that, my biggest fear was that, all the production would drop and, we would go under, all those types of things. So it was just really just setting expectations internally to do it. and making sure that the support team was there and everybody was trained up and ready to rock and roll, to kind of make the transition. But it was really more of just a Band-Aid grip. Just do it, go, and figure it out later type thing.
Okay. I love it. All right. So you run the shop now. You're basically in charge of it. Well, you're in charge of everyone. And also with that comes is just like a team and company culture. Explain to me your culture a little bit and how did you get there?
Yeah. So I mean, we take a lot from all the great wholesale lenders that we have. There's a lot of huge companies out there in the mortgage space and outside the mortgage space that they've kind of figured it out already. They don't need to like reinvent the wheel. It's kind of just picking the things that you like from all that and kind of putting it all in there. So it starts from day one, right? And it starts from leadership down. So if I come in, it's like telling somebody, hey, you have to be in the office at 9 o'clock, but I show up at 10 o'clock every day. No one's gonna follow that culture. It's a terrible, terrible way of doing anything. So it starts with the top up. So our leadership here, we make sure that in and out, up and down, everything they do, extrudes that culture through just communications, through everything, and we make it very clear what our culture is, and use that as a backboard. Like the one that UWM uses all the time are thumb pointers, right? So when we definitely have taken that from them 1,000% and used something similar in the office, and it's like, okay, here's the problem. Great. What could I have done better? Hey, Mark, as your leader, I could have trained you a little better. What could have you done better? Like it's kind of elementary, but like you just constantly have to be doing it. It has to be in the front of everything. First thing is, okay, in this situation, what pillars or what part of our culture does this match, and how can we have fixed it type of thing. So it's making sure that it's always up front and it's in the expectations. Back to like the whole onboarding and everything, the first piece of paper I give people when we interview is like, our quote unquote pillars. Like, this is what Lending Heights is all about. Please read these. If you think these are cheesy, if you think these are weird, great. Nice to meet you. There's the door, type thing. So we start from the ground up, and it really has to be woven deep, deep, deep into the fabric of everything. Every week we have our sales call. We'll go over one of our cultures or something that was like, hey, this is a great example of how this person did that culture, or here's a great example of how this was not our culture, and things like that. So like it just really has to be, like I said, just like woven deep, deep, deep into the fabric. You have to spend time doing it. That's the thing. You can't just be like, yep, we are thumb pointers, and then you start running around, but like, you did this and you did that. Like, it really starts from the top down. So like it took a lot of training personally, internally for myself, just to be like, all right, these are the cultures. Stop, think about it. How do you move forward with it? Again, every situation, because there's times where you're just like, you want to say like, why did you do that? At what point did you think this choice was a good idea? Right. Things like that, or like, oh crap, I should have done that, or that was a big mistake. Like little things like that. So it's kind of just like everything has to be translated into the culture and then communicated.
Love it. Love it. All right. So give me some examples of what do you guys do? Give me something where when I look at Lending Heights, I go, oh, that's something cool that they do.
Yeah. So we constantly, like a big thing, COVID kind of threw a wrench into it, but we always throw big company events, right? Every month, we used to have happy hours, top golf outings. Like we make it a point to give back to the community and also include the community. So like every month our team can absolutely look forward to something huge. Because of COVID, that kind of threw a huge wrench into things. But we had like a big awards ceremony, a couple months ago where we had to rent out a venue 3 times the size that we needed, so everyone could stay spaced out and all that. Give out, a lot of recognition and things of that sort. Our LO scorecard that we talked about at the very beginning, that's a big part of the culture where people compete just for rankings and submissions and closings and things like that. Another most recent one is we had a shuffleboard tournament. So I created a whole, you can see it on our Facebook page too, so you can document it if you guys, if you want any interest in it and see how we did it. You can see it on our Facebook page at Lending Heights. We pretty much put together, an April or March Madness bracket, randomly pulled things, and the entire company competed on shuffleboard, and the winner won. We called it the prestigious award, which is a plastic trophy, and the gift cards. So they're constantly coming in, and it's a great way for people to interact too. So like processors actually, you're interacting with the loan officers when it's not an issue. It's for more pleasure and things like that. So company events we do all the time, the shuffleboard competition. Now that things are opening back up, we're gonna just keep pushing for those types of social events and things like that.
Oh, that's awesome. I love it. Yeah. And that's the thing that we have to enjoy a little bit more is the people that are around us. I think, I mean, there are so many good people in our industry, and, we get stressed out. We're so focused on turn times and closing and how we do all this stuff, but we got to really celebrate the people around us.
You really do. I mean, especially last year, like anyone that made it through last year, we all came out way stronger because there was points, I'm sure, in everyone's position where it's kind of like, first you're scared, oh my gosh, where are the loans? What's going to happen? And then it was like drinking from a fire hydrant, and it's like too much. How do we do this? What's going on? Like everything's breaking down, and it's so hard to keep that stability through everything and keep people happy when they're like recruiters are going crazy and banks are changing guidelines every day, and keeping everything together was definitely tough, but we're all definitely stronger from it. And you learned a lot about people's characters and everything coming through that whole thing, and make good friends too. People that band together and got through it. Now it's almost like our production probably hasn't dropped nearly as much, if not it's increased since when the quote unquote refi boom happened. But now we don't feel stressed about it because we kind of know what to expect. We've learned to work through it. Not when like I said, drinking from a fire hydrant. It was like everyone's like on wit's end. Everyone's freaking out, going crazy. But now we're kind of used to it. It's leveled off, and now we figured out. Great, we've been through that. That's nothing. Let's keep going. Just double it. Let's keep going. That was nothing.
Yeah, I know. And I started this business in 2001. And I'm going to tell you right now, I learned a lot. You hit the nail on the head. I learned a lot about myself. I learned a lot about a lot of other people as well. So, but you're right. Hey, I've always said this, and I'm probably a broken record, but I truly think mortgage brokers, loan officers, processors, closing, anyone who's in this industry are the most adaptive people out there.
Oh yeah, I don't disagree with you at all. From every single aspect of it, it's because it's like it's very unique industry. I always think about like why is it like that? It's because it's an industry where like you always have to make sure the next person's satisfied, right? And I don't know if there's that many industries that are like that. Yeah, it's a service industry, but for example, as a mortgage broker, we have to make sure the client, the real estate agent, they're all satisfied. But in addition, we have to make sure that our lender is satisfied, to make sure that we're okay that way. And then the lender has to make sure that their investor is satisfied. And if that's where it stops, if not, they got to make sure that the GSEs are satisfied. You know what I mean? So like at the very beginning, we got to make sure all four of them are satisfied, plus the front end, right at this point. So you have to be super adaptive. You have to be, the smartest person in the transaction and make everyone else think they are sometimes, just to keep it the glue and keep everything going.
All right. We're winding down here, but I always like to close this with basically saying, hey, the floor is yours. You're a veteran in this industry. There's a bunch of new people coming in. We got other veterans that have been in this industry for a long time. So what's your one thing you want to get across to everyone, or one piece of advice that you would love to give out?
There's like 100, but if I had to take it from the top, I would say get comfortable with being uncomfortable. That's one of the things that I kind of took to heart, and it's worked. Like things aren't going to go right. Like I said, you have to please the 6 people after us and during this process. So like if you can embrace, there's no such thing as problems. So just opportunities. That's how you got to look at it. Every time there's a speed bump or something in the road, that's just an opportunity to learn from it, get better, and just get better at learning and getting better. Simple as that. So like you kind of have to focus on the getting better part and not looking back at all those things. So I would say, get comfortable being uncomfortable and just keep, chopping your feet. Think of it like when I played high school football. It was, when the sled wasn't moving, what did you do? You just kept chopping your feet. And eventually that huge heavy machine just kept going. And next thing you know, you're dragging it 10, 15 yards and it keeps going down the gridiron, and the momentum just keeps going and everything like that. So just keep chopping and there's always light at the end of the tunnel, at the other side. So just, get comfortable being uncomfortable. And that's how you learn best, because when everything's comfortable, you're good. There's only opportunities and there's no problems to worry about. You just keep rocking and rolling, raging and growing this broker space.
Yeah, I've been using the term, and even I actually coach high school basketball as well. And I've been using the term a lot, embrace the suck.
Yeah, that's right. Someone handed me that book, Gleason. I'm blanking on his first name, but I got the book the other day, Embrace the Suck, and it's really funny. One of our loan officers, I put it right on his desk the other day. As soon as he walked in, the first thing he saw was his book that had the title across it, Embrace the Suck. And it's so true. It really is. Like once you get comfortable, like bring on all the problems. You know what I mean? Like it's to the point where some guys come in my office and they're just like, I had this huge problem that's going on. The real estate agent's angry, all that. And I was like, look, this is the mindset that I'm going to go into this with. At the end of this conversation, we're going to try to get this real estate agent to say thank you and say, this is a great experience. So, they come in screaming, yelling, saying, this is the worst experience ever. I can't believe this, blah, blah, blah. And then I'm going to do everything in my power, and I'm going to think about it. Just say, okay, how am I going to get them to say, well, thank you, Jason. That was great. At the end of the conversation, It's hard to do, but you just go in there like, all right, I got this. I'm going to make them say thank you to me at the end of this. That's how you should go with every single, like I said, there's no problem. We call them opportunities here. Just go into the opportunity thinking, think of it like that.
Yeah, and one other thing that I got from you, Jason, is the fact that, you didn't say it in these words, but you have no problem like trying new things and going through trials and tribulations of everything. Just try it. Who cares? It might work. It might not.
1000%. That's another line item that we put right in our interviewing process. If you don't like change, we are not the place for you. I make that very explicit. And we put it into our culture where we are trying to change all the time. Like every meeting, it's like, okay, at the very end of the meeting, we just have a quick little section. Okay, give us some change ideas. As we talk about, what can change? And I mean, I tell people, throw anything at the wall to see if it sticks, and then we'll talk it out. When people don't have an idea, they'll start coming up with things that are so abstract, but then you can take little nuggets from that and work with it. But change is great. Change is a great thing. I mean, like you said before, people in this industry are super adaptive. It's because this industry makes us adaptive too. Like the industry wasn't the same it was 6 months ago. It wasn't the same it was a year ago. It wasn't the same it was 10 years ago. It's going to keep changing. So only thing you can do is just, like I said, keep chopping your feet and changing with it. If you try to stay stagnant and complacent, you're not gonna get anywhere. You know what I mean? So change, you gotta embrace the change and keep going with it. But yeah, we love trying new things. I think some of my employees probably won't agree with me when I say I love trying new things, because they're kind of like, why are we doing it this way? Like, we just tried this, we just changed it. But at the end of the day, everyone always grows. And as long as they understand that if we did make the wrong choice, we'll change quickly and try to find the right choice. But yeah, change is great, man, all day.
Yeah, and one thing you said there, and what I do personally is I have 2 meetings with with my broker shop. I have 2 meetings a year with each employee, and there's 3 things that we have to cover. One, I have to cover what I think they can get better at, constructive criticism. Number 2 is they tell me what I can get better at, and number 3 is they got to come in with something that they would like to see changed or added to our company.
Yeah, that's where you get all your feedback from. I'm definitely not the smartest person in the room ever. The only thing I can control is be the hardest working person in the room. That's about it. But you get all your ideas from everybody around you. That's why you hire, maybe it's a Steve Jobs quote, we don't hire smart people to tell them what to do. We hire smart people for them to tell us what to do. Right. And, you gotta be, but the thing is, you gotta be open-minded to that. It's very easy to let your ego and pride get in the way, where it's like, I designed this process. It's the best, that's like a personal one for me. But no, Jason, there's probably so many things you didn't think about, and so many things that other people have great ideas. Just because you designed it doesn't mean that, there's so many other ways they can change. So you definitely got to get the input from everybody and be open to it. Not only just be open to it, but actually try it too. There's been a couple of instances where I could think of someone's like, just do it like this. In my mind, I'm like, oh, that doesn't sound like the right thing at all, but we're just going to try it. And then doing it, we're like, wow, great. That kind of worked. This is actually excellent. Great job. Give me another one. Let's go. Keep coming with these ideas. But yeah, it comes down to change, and it comes down to the whole culture too. Like we talked about before, people got to be expecting change and they have to be okay with it. You know what I mean? Because then people are just miserable. And when one person's miserable, misery likes company, things spread, and it just brings down the whole, morale of the entire company. So it's just about setting the expectations and everything. When it comes to originating, set the expectations. Hey, yes, this is a very difficult file. It's going to take 45 days to close. No ifs, ands, or buts about it. And there's probably a 10% chance it doesn't close because of this, that, and the other thing. Versus, setting expectations for our employees. When you come work here, we expect you to follow these guidelines, these culture points, and we expect you to be able to change a lot. Like you said, right now, if this isn't for you, walk out the door, because this is what you're going to expect. Put it in there, and then keep following up with it too, where it's hey, 3 weeks in, how everything going? Don't forget, these are the cultures. Don't forget change, until they really get used to it. So once we have those, like I said, the 3, 6, 9 week meetings for everybody, we just keep reiterating what our culture is. Hey, do you have any questions about it? Those types of things. And, if they stay for 90 days, I think they're staying for life, or until another opportunity comes down the line. But, they're staying for the longer term versus the shorter term.
Love it. Absolutely love it. Well, Jason, hey, listen, thank you. Thank you for all the knowledge you have given us today. I know we're all super busy still, but you're taking time out of your day to drop knowledge on us, and can't appreciate you enough for that.
I mean, right back at you guys. Like I said, we opened up in 2015, but I think our explosive growth has been from AIM and all the support and all the network and all the brokers are better, all that stuff. So right back at you. And, you know, I'm open to anything. If anyone has any questions, comments, concerns, I'm always open to chat and learn from everybody. There's a lot more we can learn too.
That's awesome. Thanks, Jason. And, you know, once again, thank you for joining us. And brokers, if you want to get caught up on all of our past podcast episodes, please head over to aimgroup.com/broker to broker. You can also listen to all the Broker to Broker podcast episodes on iTunes, Spotify, Google Podcasts, anywhere else you can download podcasts. So please rate our podcast and leave a review, subscribe. It helps us get the podcast out there and spreads the word that brokers are better. So once again, Jason, thank you. Everyone, thanks for joining us, and we'll see you on the next episode.